The first thing you need to do is install the Stable Diffusion. Follow the steps demonstrated by this guy in his tutorial, just as I did before. The second step is to visit civit.ai and obtain the Domesticated MIx Checkpoint. Download it and place it into a specific folder within your Stable Diffusion installation directory. Okay, someone asked me to create a pregnant cheetah girl with a specific outfit. Why not? It could be good for a presentation. I've decided to create 2 solo versions and one with 2 characters. The prompts you see are from my previous generation for NSFW content on my Patreon. I'm using similar prompts with a few modifications. I am increasing the count of generated pictures and resolution to achieve the desired results. As we need a pregnant character, we must input prompts that are recognized by this checkpoint. Fortunately, this checkpoint understands this quite well. Alternatively, you can always visit civit.ai and search for other checkpoints or specific lore models that may enhance the current checkpoint with new features. If you're unsure about what to type, simply go to civit.ai and see what people are generating there and which prompts they use to achieve specific results. Now, I'm just checking how a cheetah should look to ensure that the AI indeed creates a cheetah and not a cat, rat, or anything else weird. I'm scrutinizing my prompts very carefully, adding or changing things that I believe will be beneficial for this generation. This video will be somewhat lengthy. I apologize for that. I'll attempt to remove any unnecessary content and speed up certain sections, but it will still be a bit lengthy because I want to show you how this process looks in my workflow. And when I'm finally certain that I have set up everything properly and my prompts are good, the generation process begins. This will take a while. On my 8GB GPU, it took about 5 minutes to generate 8 pictures. When the process ends, I begin to evaluate the generated images. I assess whether a picture is good enough to continue working on it, or, if lucky, if it's already satisfactory to stop at that point. As you can see, there are various issues with many of the generated images. After some consideration, I decide to save one of those 8 in my folder. Although it wasn't perfect, I choose to continue generating because there's always a chance that something better may appear. Another generation ends, so I started the judging process again. This time, one picture caught my attention more than others. I decide to take a closer look at it. I like the character and the overall arrangement of the picture, but there are still some issues to fix. As you can see, there are additional limbs. So now we're becoming professional, certified plastic surgeons, and we'll perform an operation on them. I opened Clip Studio Paint to fix this image. You can also use free programs like GIMP or Krita. It doesn't matter much because, after my operation, the patient dies anyway. So, I'll put her mangled corpse back into the generator to ensure that everything looks good. Just watch what I'm doing here. I am not a professional illustrator or painter, so I just do what I can, and afterward, I simply save that picture. Now the important steps come into play. We don't want the illustration to appear as if it was fixed by a 5-year-old child, so we need to put this image back into the generator. This time, we use an image-to-image generator. I set the denoising strength to a low value around 0.50. This value represents how much we want the generator to alter the image. For minor changes, a range from 0.40 to 0.60 is suitable. After another round of the judging process, I eventually chose one picture that stood out as the best for saving. I decided to continue and create another one. Now, you can see how I am browsing the internet, seeking ideas for hair. Some things work, while others don't. It all depends on how the checkpoint was trained and the tags it contains. Oh no! Something terrifying happened in out-of-memory error. In my case, this occurs when I have too many things running in the background. I simply turn off all 3 of my searchers and everything goes back to normal. As you can see, despite typing red hair, I didn't get the proper results. So I decided to reinforce my prompts by adding ginger and redhead. This time, red hair appears as I want it to. Once again, I go through the phase of assessing pictures, and this time it looks like I got something good enough in the first generation to process it further. One issue that I noticed is with the eyes. In my experience, this checkpoint often messes up the eyes, so I decided to fix them myself. If you want to learn more about painting or drawing, check out YouTube channels like Psychra, Marco Bucci, or Proco. For more information about the features of Clip Studio Paint, visit their website. They have plenty of tutorials there. When I was satisfied enough with the result, I saved it and moved on to the next idea. Now, I want to create something more complex. I have the idea of a pregnant cheetah mom on a walk with a child in the park. I adjusted my prompts and resolution because a more square format will fit better for 2 characters. As you can see, the generator completely misunderstood me. Instead of an anthro kid, we got an animal cheetah for some reason. This often happens because prompting interactions between characters is challenging and can be tough for the generator to understand. Taking this into account, I decided to try using image to image with a photo taken from Google Graphics. If you don't want to do that, you can always draw the proper scene yourself, as you see in this example. The left pictures are mine, drawn in less than 5 minutes, so it may work even without any talent or skill. Since I don't sell this or work for any company, I just use it anyway. I adjusted the resolution to match the image. Copied prompts from the text to the image generator, and increased the denoising strength to a higher value to obtain results that are less similar to the original photo. As you can see, the result is, well, interesting. We have the 2 characters as we wanted. One is a kid while the other is old and pregnant, but I think I don't have to point out where the problems are. I decided to try to repair it using the InPaint tool. Now, I input prompts that should change her clothes and reinforce them with brackets. Normally, if I were truly doing this, I would probably edit the original photo and paint her clothes in the right color. However, I'm not doing it this time because I already have another idea in mind for fixing it in a better way. As you can see, the task failed successfully. There were almost no changes here. I decided to use my secret weapon, controlnet, in combination with composable lora. What are they, you ask? They are add-ins for Stable Diffusion that add new useful functions to our program. Now, I put the previously used photo into the controlnet, and I changed the control type to open pose. After that, I clicked the red button to see what results would come. As you can see, we got some sort of colorful stick figures. And this is exactly what it does. It extracts only the pose from characters, making it easy to replace humans with anthro characters. I'm showing you here exactly which add-ins you need. The guy I mentioned before has already made tutorials on how to install and use them, so check it out. As I mentioned, I've learned almost everything from him and from Civit.ai. I'm adjusting prompts a little bit and changing the count of generated images because it takes much longer with controlnet on. Now, I am disabling composable lora because I have to show you how controlnet works, and I am curious if we get a good result only with it. I pressed the generate button, but something is wrong. Generations are going much faster than they should, and I don't see information about using controlnet in the CMD window. Of course, I forgot to turn on controlnet. I stopped the generation and checked enable in the controlnet segment. Now, we see in the command line that controlnet is really starting to work this time. As you can see, we got the pose exactly like from the photo, but the child doesn't have the prompted clothing. This is because when you type something in the prompts, the generator doesn't really understand the placement. So if you type, for example, happy cat, crying dog, you can get exactly what you want, but also both crying, both happy or crying and happy at once. Now I'll show you how to overcome this as well. I put the photo into the image editor, adjusting its size. I save the photo to use this version in controlnet later. Now, I do something very important, the mask. It is crucial to create a mask in a solid color without any transparency or color mixing. I'm masking these two characters in different colors to use later in composable lora. I disabled the background photo, leaving only two solid color layers and an alpha channel. I saved it as a PNG file and returned to Stable Diffusion. I turned on composable lora and dragged and dropped our mask onto the latent couple mask. I adjusted the resolution again to better fit our photo, which I forgot to put into the controlnet. Now I click, I finished my sketch, and I get 3 fields for prompting this time. As you can see, we have pink color for the adult cheetah and yellow for the kid. I start filling up the general prompt, which is responsible for everything except our mask. After that, I simply copy-paste every prompt that was used before and adjust the details I desire in the proper mask. When I finish playing with prompts, I just click Prompt Info Update. Now, our previous prompts were replaced by a construction that uses an ND while negative prompts remain untouched. This means that everything should be good and we may start generating again. Well, we got some nice results this time. As you can see, the child isn't dressed strangely this time, and they aren't pregnant, which is some sort of success. Unfortunately, the mom is also not pregnant, and what the hell is going on with these feathers? I save this picture. Now, I adjust the prompt a little and take a closer look at our generated pictures. What I'm doing here is lowering the ending control step. I set it at 0.75, which means that after 3/4 of the generation, controlnet stops working, and the generator works without it. I do this because at that stage of generation, controlnet does nothing except use resources. I'm also lowering the control weight, which is a scale of how strictly the generation should follow controlnet orders. I just want a little more creativity with the pose, but not much. This time it's totally obvious that those feathers aren't just frills of the generator. It appears that I had a bird prompt in the mask, so I got rid of it and everything is back to normal. No wings this time, but I'm not really convinced by the results, so I adjust the prompts a little bit more. I start a generation of 32 images and go take a shower. Now, when the generator has finished its work, we can again go through the assessing phase. I open the folder and carefully examine each picture. Finally, I find something that speaks to me. There is only one issue. While this picture is good enough in its current form, we originally intended to create a pregnant cheetah. So I decide to try repairing it again using inpaint. Now as you see, I generate it with controlnet, but is only because I forgot to disable it. After a closer look, I decide to lover pregnant prompt a little bit, because if you overdo, you got weird results. I lover denoising strength a little bit to make generated fragment fit better to the entire picture. And finally, we make it. Pregnant cheetah girl with her youngster walk hand by hand. If I were really working on this in detail, I would probably edit it further, add tails, and fix the hands. However, I was a little exhausted at that time, and I think this tutorial is already long enough. I respect you for lasting through the entire tutorial. I hope it helps in some way. Thanks for watching.